PodUniversal show, Mr. Vint. You have been one of the legends in the world. You have changed the way of life in the world because of the internet. 30 years back, you have invented the new TCP/IP protocol, and the way in which the world is changing because of the internet is amazing. Did you expect this type of a change 30 years back?
So some people rephrase this question as, what were you thinking? The honest answer is that Bob Town and I had a particular problem we wanted to solve, and that was to create a non-proprietary protocol that would allow an arbitrarily large number of packet switch networks to be interconnected to each other. We couldn't predict what the world would be like with 2 or 3 million people online, but we already had clues about what it might be like. We already had electronic mail from 1971. We had Doug Engelbart's system with hyperlinking, hypertext. It was called the online system. We were using it. It was sort of like a one-computer World Wide Web. We saw the potential in mobile radio because we were experimenting with mobile radio and mobile internet access in the 1970s. We were experimenting with packet video. We were experimenting with packet voice and with packet satellite communications, packet video and packet voice, all in the mid-1970s, the late 1970s. So we were very aware of the incredible power of this technology and the possibility that it would grow organically, because when we released the Internet Protocol specifications, we said anyone is free to use these. If you can build a network that's based on these principles and find somebody to connect to, you'll be able to grow the internet in a very organic way, and that's exactly what happened. So, although I don't think we had in mind what it would be like with 2 or 3 billion people online sharing their information, we had high hopes that this would be a powerful infrastructure, and I think those hopes have been largely realized.
And now, because of the internet, a lot of security has become a big problem now, even including cyber terrorism and everything. What is the solution for it?
So this word cyber terrorism, I think, is potentially an extreme phrase. And I'd like to suggest that maybe a different term might be cyber safety, and that the users of the internet would like to feel that they are safe using it. In order to create a safer environment on the internet, there are a number of things that are happening now and that can happen in the future. I won't try to outline all of them because this is supposed to be brief, but we're using mechanisms like the domain name system security extensions to digitally sign the domain name entries in order to prevent people from hijacking a website. We're looking at other kinds of mechanisms like routing public key infrastructure in order to keep people from hijacking parts of the internet. We're looking at end-to-end cryptography. We're looking at cryptographic protection for email, for digital signatures to validate the parties that might be part of a transaction. There are a whole series of actions like that. Improved operating systems that will resist various forms of attack, whether it's denial of service or direct penetration. Browsers, which are by far the most common avenue through which infections take place. Those browsers have to become a lot less tolerant of the execution of arbitrary high-level code like Python and Java or JavaScript. So there are steps being taken technically. We also need to change people's behavior patterns. So at Google, we make available to any of our users what's called two-factor authentication, whether you're using mobile or using a USB device to generate these random one-time passwords. We offer that to everyone in order to reduce the probability that their accounts will be hacked, that their passwords will be discovered. There's still plenty of work to be done on the technical side and on the training side to get users to adopt safer communication practices. So this is a defense not only against what is sometimes called cyber terrorism, but it's also a defense against people who are out to either harm other people or take advantage of other people. That's not necessarily terrorism, but it's certainly harm. And our job as technologists is to find a way to reduce the level of harm while maximizing the level of utility on this network environment.
Sir, one personal question. 30 years back, when you invented the internet, you might have had a passion and you might have undergone a lot of challenges, failures, and now you are one of the legendary personalities in the world. I want you to give one inspirational message for the youngsters, how they must conduct themselves. What is the message from your life to the youngsters?
So the simple message here is that if you are really passionate about making something happen, then you had better be prepared to be patient and persistent, because some ideas, internet included, will not be widely accepted. They will be resisted, or someone will have a different idea and will want to pursue that. So for me, this has been a long, continuous battle, and it continues today, more in the guise of policy debates and disputes about how this network should be used. I will tell you that at the point where the World Wide Web started to emerge in the early 1990s, that I was astonished at the amount of content that was produced by ordinary users who wanted to share information with each other. So if there's anything that has propelled my own persistence in all of this, it's this potential for every single one of us to have all knowledge at our fingertips. We would have to be a pretty stupid species not to take advantage of that potential to make all of this knowledge available to every single human being on the planet. And that's what drives me into the future.
How do you see India in another 5 years to 10 years?
Trying to predict India 5 years from now is like trying to predict India tomorrow morning. It's hard. But there's a growing recognition of the importance and value of digital infrastructure and its utility on the educational side, on the potential GDP growth side, especially looking at possible business outside of the country. There's a very clear indication that Indian entrepreneurs recognize the value of exporting their skill and talent and inventions to the rest of the world. This causes hard currency to come into the country, and it also allows you to have a larger IT economy than if you were focused only on a domestic business. So I see this growing recognition as potentially bearing fruit over the next 5 years, but it remains to be seen whether or not there is, let's say, a well-organized effort, persistent effort to build the infrastructure and to train people to use it so that new products and services can become part of the normal day-to-day lives of everyone here in the country. You also have to pay attention to the fact that companies have to be easy to start. You have to be able to find venture capital or some kind of capital. Often that comes from banks, and the banks are risk averse, and so it's not a good formula for growing companies that can ultimately have an initial offering, an initial public offering. In fact, in the absence of a good stock market, there's a serious problem in creating the atmosphere to allow these companies to get enough capital to grow. So there are a whole series of different conditions that have to be met in order for India to take advantage of this technology in the same way that the Silicon Valley in the United States has managed to do this, to leverage all of these conditions. So we have a job ahead of us to make sure that the conditions obtained that will allow India to take advantage of this technology for all of its population.
So thank you very much for joining the PodUniversal show. We are greatly honored with your show.
It's always a pleasure. I'll see you on the net.